Wolf Pack, what's going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street, rotostreetjournal.com. We breed and feed fantasy wolves here with your Week 5 fantasy football recap. Your risers, your fallers, your injuries, and of course, your waiver wire, what most of you need to do to act upon what we just saw. Don't move on to Week 6 without recapping all of these season-long risers and fallers. You know your boy has you covered. I'm going to rip through all of these, of course, answering any questions you guys have that are live, and of course, also in the comments if you're catching the replay. Either way, thanks so much for tuning in. I am pumped to be here with you on this Monday night to recap a wild Week 5. And you have to start, as you can see, injuries. Not usually where I start the recap show, but this week it just felt like, there's nothing bigger, right, than Dak Prescott. And tragic, devastating injury. Prayers out to him. Of course, the fantasy implications are far less of a greater concern than him, his physical, his mental well-being after such, on the 1-year franchise tag, playing at a historic pace, on pace for the most yards in NFL history, the most fantasy points of any quarterback through the first 4 weeks, and then tragically, gut-wrenching injury. Just disgusting to see that ankle. So any fan, regardless of where you're from, your heart has to go up for Dak. Your prayers have to go up. And it's terrible to see. Of course, you're watching this for the fantasy repercussions. What do we do from here? And Andy Dalton, if there's ever a backup plan, he's one of the better ones in the league. He's averaged right around 270 air yards through the last 10 seasons, his whole career, rather. So ultimately, he knows how to sling it. He can get the ball down the field. And Kellen Moore's already come out and said, we are going to remain aggressive. We're not going to change our attack because of the quarterback. So that one has you not excited, but just there's a little bit of a lifeboat here for your Cowboys. I'd say they all take about 75%, of what they're doing is what you can kind of expect moving forward. Maybe a 25% hit from what they're done. Amari Cooper, the number 1 PPR receiver, he dumps down to probably like my 7 to 8 guy from here on out. CeeDee Lamb, maybe this favors him because Andy, at this point, Andy Dalton doesn't have that arm strength, doesn't have that gunslinging mentality necessarily of Dak, but he can distribute it. He can get it out accurately. A guy like CeeDee Lamb, maybe that benefits. Gallup was the one that ended up having the nicest connection with him. If you look at the just pure stats from the game, they all saw 3 targets, Gallup, Cooper, and Lamb. Gallup led the way with 3 receptions, 65 yards. Cooper, 2 catches, 23, and then CeeDee Lamb, 2 catches for 21, those being under Dalton, who went 9 for 11, 111 yards. I wouldn't read too much into that. Both of Gallup's receptions came one after the other. It was clear like a matchup mismatch they had identified towards the end of the game. We'll see how it goes in the future weeks. But ultimately, I expect them to get just a little bit more run heavy. Maybe it doesn't necessarily favor Zeke. Everybody, all the ships sink a little bit without Dak, again, playing at a historic level. But ultimately, if anyone's going to see, just a flat line, I would imagine it's Zeke because I think we see the rushing quantity go up. And he's already seeing a huge workload. But I think we see that go up a little bit, even if the quality kind of goes down a little bit with that because of less scoring opportunities, what have you. But ultimately, this is as good of a backup situation as you could ask for as Cowboys fans, as fantasy owners of the other parties here. So I'm not overly concerned. I'm not freaking out about my Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and Gallup. You already should be freaking out because he's such a distant third from them. Dalton Schultz sees no targets. Maybe you can start to panic there because he's so touchdown dependent. Ultimately, the touchdowns aren't going to be quite there. What do we make of Dalton himself? We'll talk about him again in the waiver wires. But, man, when you got these type of weapons, these type of game scripts, it's not like the defense is suddenly going to become this amazing defense. So they're going to be playing from behind often. They've already said, again, Kellen Moore, we're going to remain aggressive. I think Dalton, when you give him these type of weapons, can get you, 15, 18 fantasy points most weeks, some splash weeks in the 20s. If you lost Dak and you had no backup plan, and there's nobody else out there. Or if you're in a 2-quarterback league and you really need a desperation number 2 here, definitely worth your 10, 15, depending on your desperation levels, 20% of your favorite, your fab, if you need a quarterback real bad in light of losing Dak or any other, if you really need a desperation fill-in for your number 2. Those are the implications, in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think of this offense without Dak. Of course, prayers up again, most importantly, to a speedy recovery, to, hopefully mental clarity throughout all of it. Because again, heart goes out to the guy having a great year. Now, if you're live and you don't mind shooting this a like, even a share in a Facebook group or something of that nature, it would be greatly appreciated to help us get discovered. But either way, thanks so much again for those of you tuned in live. Let's keep going with the injuries, because another one, big one from this weekend, Dalvin Cook gets a groin injury. It's kind of unclear what his timetable is, but we did see Alexander Mattison completely thrive in relief. Ultimately, the MRI came back today, and Zimmer says, yeah, we're optimistic. Maybe we'll get him out there this week. Nothing clear. And he could have had a guy's leg chopped off and been like, yeah, this guy's going to play this week. That's kind of Zimmer's like old man, hard-nosed mentality. Everybody's always going to be playing, right? So I think, with the bye looming next week, right? I really expect at least one game of rest. Then you give him the bye. A groin injury typically is about 2, maybe, if it's just a small strain, 2 weeks. If it's something greater, obviously could linger even further. It seems like this isn't overly serious. He did come back into the game at one point, came immediately out after that play. So it was clear he couldn't. And, watching Dr. Jesse Morse, a great Twitter fantasy football doctor, talking about how you really can't move your leg too powerfully without your groin at full shape. So I imagine we get a rest, and what better time for Madison owners coming against Atlanta. We saw Mike Davis put up 28 to 30 on this team. So if you own Madison, you're going to get yourself a perfect streaming opportunity. That's my best guess. Of course, I'm not a doctor, but my guess is we get 2 weeks here with the bye week looming next week, and you get one kind of stream from Madison here. Maybe we see him get worked in a little bit more. I mean, on his 22 touches, he had over 120 yards. Looked a little more explosive than he did last year. Gets 112 of them on the ground and then 10 through the and Dalvin Cook was cooking. Don't get me wrong. Dalvin's ridiculous. But ultimately, Madison could step in, give you low-end RB1 numbers. Then in a matchup against the Falcons, you could even depend on maybe high-end numbers. I expect the 20 carries he saw this weekend, you can pencil him down for 20, 25 or so in future spot starts. And if he's out there in your waiver wire, Madison about 70% out there right now. I mean, if you need running back help, you got to blow your load to go get this guy. Because I do think he might carve out a little bit of a season-long, 1A, 1B situations. If the team's smart, they're not going to keep feeding Cook and let him wither there and get hurt again. So I think Madison could carve out some standalone value, in addition to, of course, being the best handcuff in the game. And we're going to see why come this weekend. That zone blocking team. Oh, good Lord. Madison, 100 yards this week, you can pencil him down, pen him down in Sharpie for another 100 in a TD against Atlanta. Moving on from injuries, we got Sammy Watkins expected to miss a couple weeks with a hamstring injury. Of course, that means Hardman's stock is rising. Watkins was knocked out. He really limped off. Didn't look good. And again, they've tweeted out since then that they expect it to be at least a couple weeks since then. So we got Nicole Hartman, 2 catches, 50 yards. Doesn't do a whole ton against the Raiders, but he always, you look even at his stats last year, he was only with A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, like the most explosive of athletes in terms of touchdowns over 40-plus yards, and he had less than half the targets of that group. So if he gets on the field, this guy can make things happen, and he could be in some lineups, especially during bye week crunches, as a huge upside wide receiver 3 that you're nervous to see on the other side of you because he can just go for those 70-yard touchdowns out of nowhere. So definitely intrigued to see what does Hardman do in this absence. He's another guy off the waiver wire, as we talked about Dalton, Alex Madison, and now Nicole Hartman, probably the top 3 options off the waiver wire, other than a guy we're going to talk about quickly in a second. But AJ Green, one other injury to just note of, hamstring, but even worse, disinterested. The interception just kind of lollygagging, not even attempting to make a tackle on the sideline saying, trade me. What a fucking loser. He's really worked his way up to one of my most hated players, right alongside the Corey Davises of the world. I fucking hate AJ Green. What a loser mentality. Oh, I'm not in game shape. That's why I'm struggling. I'm not getting the right targets. Sees more targets than anybody in the league. I'm, always a fucking stupid excuse. Shut up. Now trade me. Who the fuck wants you? What have you done? Who wants you on their team? So AJ Green, if he's on your fantasy team, why? That's a poison for your fantasy locker room. Get rid of him. Nobody respects him on his own team. Nobody should respect him on the fantasy locker room. Get rid of AJ Green. He's a useless tool bag. Done with him. DJ Chark, sad to see him limp off in the fourth quarter, but that just means Laviska Shenault now sees hauls in 7 of his 8 targets, 79 yards. And if this lingers for DJ Chark, it seems like he's gotten dinged up a few times now. Chennault is coming into his own, folks. 70 total yards in 3 of his last 4 games. This being the best receiving performance we've seen every single week, just ratchet up a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And we're seeing those skills after the catch, contested balls. And we still haven't seen that role in the backfield truly explored. Jay Gruden coming out and saying, we need to get this guy more and more touches. That's on me. This guy's clearly dangerous every time he touches it. So I expect his stock to continue rising. We'll see how long, if at all, DJ Chark is out here. But either way, Chennault has to be, again, we talked about the other 3 options, Hardman, Alexander Madison, and Andy Dalton. Chenault's right up there with those guys. But my favorite player off the waiver wire, and another injury that kind of led to this explosion, Deontay Johnson, back injury, does not come back in, crushes owners yet again, misses nearly all of the week. And then Chase Claypool, folks. Not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 touchdowns for Chase Claypool. A whopping 11 targets, hauls in 7 of them for 110 yards, 3 scores through the air, 1 on the ground. He is a freak, guys. This is nothing flukish about this. This is Martavis Bryant without any of the on-field issues. If any team has good faith in terms of identifying wide receivers and drafting guys, especially in the mid-rounds, it is totally this team. And Claypool came in. Is he a hybrid tight end? This guy is so big, but he's so fast. What the hell is he? Well, nobody uses those big, fast, long talents better than the Steelers, than Big Ben, airing it out and getting these guys their touches. And man, Claypool looks like a complete monster. Just the you just look at him, like the arms completely shredded. But you see the speed, you see the tackle breaking. This is going to be a mismatch nightmare for teams all season long. This was not a fluke, in my opinion. He's only 16% owned right now. He is my number 1 priority on the waiver wire. Kind of regardless. Obviously, if you lost Dak and you have nobody, you got to go after Dalton and things like that. But still, I mean, in Madison, if you lost Cook, but like as somebody who could just win leagues this late in seasons that hasn't been picked up in most leagues, this is the guy. This is the guy that could just go completely nuclear, Chase Claypool, the rest of the season. And I would be throwing, 40%, 50%, whatever it takes. If I need that wide receiver 3 injection, that flex injection, whatever it takes, you go and get this guy. Claypool's a monster. As we're saying here, goes completely bonkers. The clear-cut top waiver wire priority, in my opinion. Let us know if you guys have waiver wire questions. We will get into all of them, of course, but now we are going to cover the risers of the week. And first off, Kareem Hunt. What we were looking, one of the biggest storylines coming into the week is, what is his role without Nick Chubb? Do they give him the full workload? Is he going to be the every down guy, or are they going to kind of keep it the timeshare we've seen all season? Well, that answered pretty quickly. Chubb sees 20 carries, 72 yards, hauls in another 31 on 4 targets through the air, receiving score. Not like a ridiculous, like Kamara-esque explosion, which he's fully capable of. But what was more important, 70% snaps, 23 touches on the field for all 6 of the goal line plays. Crucial there. And ran a route on 23 of the 39 dropbacks. I mean, that is true bell cow usage. And in all honesty, it could have been even crazier. He had outtouched Dearness Johnson 17-2 through the first 3 quarters, and then had like a little bit of cramping going on. They kind of were in pretty good shape at that point. And so it was headed towards a 95-5 split. Never mind the fact that it ended up being 70-30, which already is nice if you own Kareem Hunt. So this guy, if you have him till however long Chubb is out, you got yourself the every down back within one of the best offensive schemes, that zone blocking Stefanski Kubiak-esque scheme, with one of the best lines right now, graded as the best line in football. Hunt is just going to dominate from here on out. He got another tough game against Pittsburgh, and then the schedule for like 4 straight weeks is just cream puff, cream puff, cream puff, cream puff. So it's going to be a absolute bonanza for this guy over these next 5-6 weeks. And congrats if you own him, because he's going to carry owners right into the playoffs. No matter what he does when Chubb's come back, but maybe he'll just do so well that Chubb becomes the change of pace, as good as Chubb is. We'll see, but you have to be encouraged by Kareem Hunt's debut. Raheem Mostert comes right back, and bam, right back into the role. 11 carries, 90 yards, another 3 catches for 29. Didn't find the end zone, but it seemed like he had never missed time. Just hit the ground, immediately running as soon as he was back. It just chunk gain after chunk gain. The only real 49er on offense to do anything. Of course, you get your patented like blow up 37-yarder, just outrunning everybody. But he's just clear cut, the best runner, pure natural talent. And in the meantime, Jerick McKinnon, 0-yard rush, 1 rush as compared to the 11 for Mostert. Did not play a single of one of these, early first, second down plays there. He was in for just 4 of possible 50 early down snaps. Was in on third downs, but didn't do anything with them. And it's coming from a guy who started McKinnon in 3 out of 3 leagues of my hometown buddy stuff. Awful, just awful. I'm not going to say cut him right away because early on when we had Mostert in, McKinnon was still getting the receiving work, still scoring touchdowns, but there is no way in any high hell that you could have McKinnon in your lineup moving forward. You have to wait this one out, see if he can kind of carve out some real meaningful, consistent. But that offense as a whole looked horrible. We'll talk about it in fallers outside of Mostert, who immediately just steps right back in. He's back to his status, gets a nice bump up the rest of the season big board, which you can find at rotostreetjournal.com. I will publish tonight. But Mostert looking like a high end 2, low end 1 based off this first game, immediately stepping back to that early down workhorse role. And on the other side of the ball, speaking of emerging workhorses, Myles Gaskin. Right from the start, we get Jordan Howard healthy scratch. That's huge. Why is that huge? Because Jordan Howard was vulturing everything to start the season. What is 16 carries for like 18 yards, but 6 touchdowns or something ridiculous for Jordan Howard? Well, he's healthy scratch. So is Gaskin going to be the guy? Yes, he was. He got all the goal line work, and he scores a touchdown on some of that too. So that was really what's missing with Gaskin. In fact, early on through the season, only him and Kamara were the 2 backs that had at least 4 catches in every game. So he already was kind of like that 60% in between the 20s, like doing almost everything. And now you add the goal line work on top of that. We're talking about like a high-end RB2 rest of season, who again, Myles Gaskin, never saw that coming out of complete left field. But it is what it is. He is the featured back, and Chan Gailey's system. Fred Jackson was on pace for over 2,200 total yards one year in the system. CJ Spiller went completely bananas. Like the spread offense that then loves to pound it too. Gaskin's that guy. And Gaskin's going to do some real damage as that guy. So if his owner, is not believing in him quite yet, or you can kind of like pretend like he's a toss into a deal because his name's Myles Gaskin and no one really knows the deal, then do what you can to get him. Because I'm telling you, he has already been a quality. Anyone who owns him knows quality RB2 so far this year. And that's only going upwards now that he has taken the goal line role from Jordan Howard. Assuming, of course, that continues. But this was the sign that it should. He was on 42 of 57 total snaps, nearly 70% of the work. Like this guy is the guy, Myles Gaskin. And owners have to make sure you're valuing him the right way, or you got to throw out offers to try to get him at this point. We finally see this Panthers offense. What more than a date with the Atlanta Falcons to really spark your offense? But Teddy Bridgewater, 20 points in the first half. Looked like he could have gone complete bananas, and then the Falcons just couldn't keep their end of the bargain and make a shootout for us. But 313 yards, 2 scores, highly efficient Teddy Bridgewater, looking fantastic, getting more and more comfortable by the week. Now it's back-to-back 20 fantasy point days. This is the guy we were predicting would blow up. Now, should we have gone to the extreme and say he outperforms Rodgers? No, but that shouldn't distract the fact that things are starting to look right in our Bridgewater prediction. Joe Brady's spread the wealth offense is really clicking. They're getting the ball out and letting guys do their thing. And the guy that is getting out most, this is the biggest surprise. Everyone thought, perfect fit, DJ Moore, Yak Monster. Awesome. Totally bought it. And we saw why. DJ Moore going, 93 yards, a long score, 57-yard kind of catch and run. That's what this dude can do. And let's see this happen more often. But the bigger surprise is another 13 targets for Robbie Anderson, 8 catches, 112. Like he is, I don't know how anybody is even arguing that it was not Robbie Anderson's job as the wide receiver 1. The numbers before this week already showed that, had 32 targets to like 20 something for Moore. Now that disparity is just that much further. And everybody was saying, the Atlanta matchup's going to show us the real deal. Well, if you now have seen it, it's Robbie Anderson, folks. Robbie Anderson is the number 1. He's being used so well deep ball, contested balls, even more so, though, the screens, the short intermediate stuff, just an alpha, a target hog. How did we all miss this coming into the year? I regret it. Matt Rule, you should have seen that past connection from Temple. Wish I had. Should have known Adam Gase just sucks talent. Anything that is good goes to shit under Adam Gase. Should have seen it. Didn't. But man, Robbie Anderson is a monster. Going to go down as, alongside Gaskin, like these unsung heroes of 2020. Count Robbie Anderson as like the wide receiver of the unsung hero crew. We also see Daryl Henderson rebound 2 touchdowns. Is he back? Is he the guy? It's tough to know because honestly, he didn't do that great with his touches. 15 carries, 38 yards, not a dominant performance by any means. Less than 3 yards a carry, to be honest. But the work was there. 3 catches for 30 yards. The touchdowns were there. The red zone usage was there. So everything seemed to be there, right? But Akers, 6 carries, 60 yards, first game back. Seems like he's always been the guy they've always wanted. Like, I would use this opportunity if someone's trying to buy Hendo after this performance. I think this might be the best game we get from him the rest of the season. I think we're slowly going to see Akers eat away. At best, it's going to be a 3-headed committee for Henderson. If there's ever going to be someone to truly emerge, I think it could be Akers. Maybe that's just the optimistic, hopeful owner in me. Very well could be. But I would use this opportunity of this big, return game from Henderson. I would use it to sell if I could. No doubt about it. Jamison Crowder is somebody I wouldn't be selling right now. I can't believe I'm saying it. But he is just low-end wide receiver 1. Why even call it low-end the way this guy's performing? Every single time he's been on the field this year, he's cleared 100-yard. And this is like dating back to last year. He would 18 target games, 16 catches. Like the guy is the definition of a target hog. If there's one thing Gase has done decently in his career, it's get a slot guy and pepper the shit out of him. We saw it with Jarvis Landry and the ridiculous stats, the catches he would rack up, the yak he would rack up, and Crowder has become that guy for him in New York. I thought maybe it was a chemistry thing with Darnold and, with Flacco in, you couldn't really trust Crowder the first time. No. Crowder's a beast. 116 yards and a TD, 10 targets, calls in 8 of them. I mean, there's nothing else you need to see. He is only behind right now Devonte Adams in fantasy points per game, 22.5. Crazy. Absolutely insane. And really none of it feels like a fluke. Like he's breaking tackles. He's getting open at will. And it doesn't matter who's at quarterback. Crowder's just putting up the stats. Lock him into lineups. Never take him out rest of season. And man, it's Todd Gurley. What's there to say about this guy at this point? Just absolutely abusing a soft schedule? Sure. But he's looking pretty damn good. Let's call a spade here. Did he look a little sluggish to start the year? Yeah. Was he going to be like a touchdown or bust type of guy? Seemed it. But since then, highest couple Pro Football Focus graded weeks in back-to-back weeks. Gets started with that 35-yard touchdown run. Yes, the date came against the Carolina Panthers for 121 and a TD on 14 carries. But he continues to get soft matchup after soft matchup because that schedule, that division in particular, is kind of a joke. So Gurley, I think he gets another date with Carolina soon, and maybe that's when you look to sell. But he looks rejuvenated. The team is riding him. Brian Hill seemed to be a thing. Smith, nope. It's Gurley now. So if he's going to be an every down guy, he stayed in even with them trailing. I like Gurley quite a bit moving forward. I didn't think that was words I would ever say the rest of the season. It took me a little bit to warm up to him. And I shouldn't overact to just a Carolina smashing because everybody smashes Carolina other than Kenyon fucking Drake. But he looks good. Gurley looks a lot better than he had in a while. Another big riser for me. The first soft matchup for the Giants. Who steps up? Not Evan Ingram, not Golden Tate. Pretty much nobody other than Darius Slayton. 11 targets, 8 catches, 129. They do, of course, figure out a way to blow the game. The Giants, per usual. He also, Slayton, did have a touchdown called back as well because of offensive pass interference on the other side, Ratley or whoever the fuck loser it was. But it is very, very clear. If there's one alpha of this group, and there is one, and his name's Darius Slayton, no doubt about it. And I had a tweet way back in the summer about Jason Garrett and how there always tends to be one alpha. And who knew if one from this group would be, because it was, a Des Bryant or it was, Terrell Owens for a while, right? But we also saw Miles Austin, this kind of career nobody, have 1,200 yards and 10 TDs. I mean, Slayton could keep this going. His first soft matchup since week 1. Both times he hasn't been facing elite defenses. He's gone for over 100. He's gone for nearly 30 points. So Slayton is the real deal, guys. There should be no doubt for anybody at this point. Last 2 risers here. Brandon Cooks. Crazy day. Cut by a lot of people, me included in my college league. And then goes on to see 12 targets, hauls in 8 of them for 161 in a score. Good Lord. 4,100 on DraftKings last week would have been quite the play. But is this just kind of like a flash in the pan, Brandon Cooks, and sell him all you can? Well, one thing that was interesting about this was without Bill O'Brien, there was way more play action and way more downfield throwing from Deshaun Watson. And that was when, I was calling Brandon Cooks probably the biggest under-the-radar breakout wide receiver 3 before cutting him everywhere. Because Deshaun Watson last year, number 1 in Pro Football Focus adjusted deep completion, number 2 in deep yardage, number 3 touch. All the deep statistics for Deshaun Watson, check, 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 check. Beautiful stuff. And they just, for whatever reason, get all these speedy guys that just did not throw downfield under Bill O'Brien. It was like a Fuller, let's pretend Fuller's DeAndre Hopkins and dink it down the field. Bill O'Brien's gone. They attack deep on about 30% of the throws. They use play action on 29%, which Watson historically is great with play action. Under O'Brien, that was 16%. So that's a significant, noteworthy jump there. And Watson clearly benefited from it. And clearly the receiver that benefited the most was Brandon Cooks, just screaming open downfield at will with that play action. And if this is a sign of things to come, then him and Fuller and Watson themselves. Now, again, let's preface this too, that it all came against the Jaguars team missing 3 of their best starters. A very bad defense already. So we can't go bananas over this. But if he was cut, out there again in over half your leagues, if an impatient owner like myself sent him out there, take a look, see if Brandon Cooks is lingering there. The last riser, in my opinion, feel free to make a note if I'm missing anybody here, but Miles Sanders kind of succeeds in a difficult matchup against the Steelers. 2 touchdowns. You saw that game-changing speed on a 74-yarder. The downside is, otherwise he did nothing, literally nothing on his other carries. But that's the thing with him, is all it takes is that one monster play. Also sees 4 targets, hauls in 2 of them, but every down snap, that type of guy that just, there's very few of these running backs at this point. And I think you're going to get those big plays more often than not. And when the schedule softens up, you might get multiple of them a week. So if you threw out your Ballylows last week for Miles Sanders, well done. If his owner is still a little scrambly, I think this was the furthest thing from a fluke. We're finally starting to see this guy emerge. The line is definitely a concern, but still feeling a lot better about Miles Sanders after this week. Now, somebody that, we're going to go to the fallers here, and somebody I got some questions about. Well, now you feeling better about this guy? Kenyon? No, we'll go back to him too. Kenyon Drake. Oh boy. Best day of the year. So we can start there with the positives. Finds the end zone. 12 fantasy points. We should all have a fucking party for the guy, right? Oh boy. Despite the good performance, I am, if anything, more concerned. Because Chase Edmonds looked that much better all day. Had more fantasy points on half the touches. It's only a matter of time before Edmonds takes over. He only got 8 compared to, again, 18 touches for Drake and did more with his 8. And every single week, Edmonds continues to do more. And he's used more creatively. He's the one that they're using in the receiving game, as we've said. Drake, 3.2 yards per touch. Without that goal line touchdown, I think we're all freaking out right now and potentially even cutting Drake. So I'm panicking. If this game saved a little bit of value that an owner will sell for him, anything, take whatever you'll give me, I will take. Thank you for the touchdown, Kenyon Drake. Maybe gave you some sort of value to sell because I feel worse. I guess it's not worse than if you didn't score, but I don't feel any better. It didn't say your day was looking like it was going to be yet another complete dud. I'm selling wherever I can as fast as I can. Another first rounder. Is it time to worry about Clydesdale? Well, let's preface it by saying he had a receiving touchdown called back. So that was one, this narrative might be a little bit different if he scores 17 points. But instead we get 10 carries, 40 yards, 8 targets, 40 yards on the receiving. That's nice. So 80 total yards, 3 catches, 11 points. I like the usage within the best offense in the league. I don't understand why it amounts to literally 0 touchdowns. They just get so cute with the little flicker passes and Mahomes rushing touchdowns. I was hoping by being in the best offense in the league, it meant just touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. Instead, it means we get way too cute in the red zone. We have Pat Mahomes. We're not going to take the ball out of his hand. And it's just not adding up for Hilaire. But whereas I'm trying to sell Drake as fast as I can, I would actually be buying Hilaire, buying low. Now, granted, if you can't get it done against the Raiders, by far the most fantasy points to running backs, is particularly through the air. You can't do it against them. You're not going to blow up against them. I don't know that it's going to happen, guys. But there still should be some 2, 3 monster touchdown days awaiting him. So I would be buying low still, even though he blew it in this matchup. This is as low as you're probably going to be able to get him for because he's still in on 60 to 70% of the snaps. He's still seeing 70% of the backfield work. I'm still into him. I'm not quitting. I will not quit him. He's good. He still looks good. He's going to turn it around. I'm not overly concerned with him. Zach Ertz, though, that is one I am concerned about. Oh my good Lord. Nobody to contend with for competition, right? Nobody. And he has the back-to-back games. 4 catches, 9 yards. 1 catch, 6 yards. What? And Eagles fans writing into me and saying, this isn't a fluke. This guy's done. He looks bad. He looks slow. This isn't good, folks. He cannot get it done when he's the only show in town other than Fulgham, who we'll talk about a little bit later. He's cooked. He's done. He plays 56 out of 59 snaps and has 1 catch. He's had a murderer's row of defenses, but this is not a buy low. This is not, Goddard will be back soon. In fact, if anything, this is like a Goddard rise because of how bad Ertz is. He's had every opportunity to be his old target hog self, and he's done nothing with it. Maybe a hate cut if you really, it's bad. It's really bad, as is. We're going to go through a few tight ends here. Evan Ingram, time to panic, time to cut. I know if Roderick, you're tuned in. You've been commenting this one for a while. I'm done. He scored 16-yard, he had a rushing touchdown. He had 16 yards, though, through the air. And it's very clear Daniel Jones he isn't it. And if he is, it's not going to be with Jason Garrett calling plays. Far too conservative, not taking any shots, not maximizing the speed, game-changing, seam-busting guy Ingram could be. Oh, man, if you gave this guy to fucking Patriots, Belichick would use him to perfection. His snaps are going down. 95%, 84%, now 80%. And the Cowboys had given up just dominant performances to tight ends for 3 straight weeks. And we get 1 measly touchdown that saved face a little bit. He had 1 called back too. But you can't have him starting at this point. And if you can't have him starting, do you really need to hang on to him? Depends on how competitive your league is, but there are plenty of situations that I would cut Evan Ingram for. Man, he's frustrating. As are the Colts tight ends. Mo Alley Cox. It was fun while it lasted, wasn't it fun, guys? Freak player. Freak build. Freak leaping ability. Freak speed for his size. Doesn't matter. We just can't have fun things, fantasy owners. I love how Roto World wrote that on their blurb. Fantasy managers just can't have nice things. Totally agree. Because he's back to the bottom, folks. Fewest snaps of the 3 tight ends this week. Fewest targets of the tight ends. Thrown to once, didn't catch it. Complete goose egg. Meanwhile, Trey Burton returns. Second most targets on the team with his 6. 5 catches, 33 yards. Nothing crazy. But clearly, the distant third now is Mo Alley-Cox. Jack Doyle saw 3 targets over him. So, I mean, and 32 routes to Mo Alley-Cox is 18. Like, does it make sense to me? No. One of these guys, one of these 3 seems like a mismatched nightmare that could legitimately blossom if you used him. But who am I to tell you how these talents should be used? So he was another faller, in my opinion. And last but not least, just the 49ers offense as a whole. Jimmy Garoppolo, 7 for 17, 77 yards and 2 picks against Miami. I can't even say that without laughing. What? Beathard, 9 for 18, 94 and a TD, I guess a little better. But the only offensive player on that team that was worth a damn was Raheem Mostert coming back from an injury. Brandon Ayuk, 3 for 44, leads the team in receiving. I love Ayuk. I think the guy's an amazing player, freakish athleticism. Kittle, 444. Bourne, 2 for 30, gets one of the touchdowns. Deebo Samuel, 8 targets, turns it into 2 catches and 19 yards. Thanks, McKinnon, for your 2 catches and 5 yards, you bag of shit. I mean, this offense was a joke against one of the worst defenses in the league. I do think there's a turning point for them. I would kind of throw out some offers. Maybe Kittle will buy low. Ayuk, if he gets cut, look for him. Maybe Deebo turns it around again. The targets were there, but it was clear Garoppolo probably wasn't at 100. He certainly didn't have the mental 100 down. He wasn't ready. He was scared. He was tentative all day. There's too much talent, and Kyle Shanahan's too good of a mind for me to think this continues the rest of the season. I think we just gotta. But what's gonna turn it around? Mullins. I mean, maybe Mullins is the answer, guys. But that was very, very disappointing to see for sure. All righty, guys. Last quick segment here is the waiver wires, and then your questions the rest of the way. I see I got 10 of them in here. We'll be sure to answer them all. But let's highlight these Raiders. I guess in terms of followers too, just a couple quick other ones. Dalton Schultz, we talked about the all Cowboys fall a bit with Dalton, but Schultz, didn't see a single target. So that's just of note. And then Daniel Jones, no need to own this guy anymore. He had his matchup against the worst defense in the league, the Cowboys, and puts up 222 scoreless yards. Just a joke. No need to own that guy. Below fucking Derek Carr at this point. That's all you need to know. But let's talk about waiver wires, guys. The one other one too, I guess I missed a couple banners here. Tyler Higby. Oh, man. The second easiest matchup to tight ends against Washington. 2 targets. Hauls in 2 of them for 12 yards. Meanwhile, Gerald Everett, 90 yards. Leads the team on 4 catches of all 4 of his targets. Out-targets, out-produces. 2.88 yards per out run compared to Higby's 1.96. Largely because Everett's a freak athlete that's great after the catch, but now it's looking like he is the guy over Higby potentially. So Higby's a cut candidate in shallower leagues, no doubt about it. We'll have an occasional 2 touchdown outburst, maybe, but he's had 1 good game so far out of 5. How could you keep rolling him out? Nope. Not if you can't do it against Washington, who's gotten beat by every single team by the tight end. Nope. Let's talk about these waiver wire folks and then go enjoy some Monday Night Football. We talked about Chase Claypool, 110 yards, 3 scores, including a rushing one, 16% owned. I would be doing anything I can to get him. 50%, 60%. This was not a fluke. Steelers know their wide receiver talent. This guy is a just monster. Speed, size, after the catch, everything. And they're clearly scheming him the volume. And if Deontay's injury lingers, that much more. Plus, Juju, 26 yards in Deontay's absence? And Claypool might be their number 1. Legitimately, he's got the size and the speed and the everything to be a prototypical number 1. Is he already it? Might be. Like I said, Martavis Bryant without the baggage. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. How are we? This is a guy like DK Metcalf, right? Good quarterback that throws to his big bodies. Why are we overthinking this? Claypool's a beast. Speaking of Metcalf, 11 targets. Good Lord. I can't name 4 receivers I'd rather own than him in fantasy for DK Metcalf. We already also talked about Alex Madison. If you lost Dalvin Cook and he's out there, blow it. You need your insurance policy for Dalvin Cook. And if not, blow it and you need a running back like Atlanta coming up. It seems to be a very good bet that Dalvin Cook will at least sit that one, get to the bye, and then we see if Madison gets any more starts from there. But at least you're getting a stream against Atlanta. That in itself is worth $30 on the waiver wire because you're getting 25 points at least. So love to blow it on Madison. We talked about Chennault as well. With or without Chark banged up, Chennault, 7 catches, 79 yards, 8 targets. Gruden continues to say week in, week out, we need more touches for this guy. Get him more touches. That's what they're doing. And all he's doing is rising up to the game. He's right now, Chennault is a top 25 wide receiver in fantasy so far. Claypool's number 20, largely due to that huge outburst here. But Chennault, anywhere he's out there, 34% right now owned. Got to go get him. And who's this Fulgham guy? No clue. Our guy Dane, Chase Market Gains, wrote an awesome piece on him, though. So check out the rotostreetjournal.com/stockwatch. Travis Fulgham, 10 catches on 13 targets, 152 and a score. This guy's done nothing in his career other than bounce around teams, right? So that honestly gives people pause. You know, August 9th, Lions, August 10th, Packers, 19th, Packers. He's waived. August 20th, the Eagles. Last week, catches a game-winning TD against the 49ers. This week, blows up. And as Dane asked, is this a fluke? Well, he looks at the workout metrics from Player Profiler, and other than his speed score, 4.58, not great for his size. But other than that, he's in the top half, the top percentiles. 65th for his speed score, or his burst. His catch radius, the big thing here. 83rd percentile for his catch radius. And we're seeing that. It's one of those things like see metrics and be like, okay, cool. But then when you see them play out on the field, where this guy's making leaping grabs over people, Wentz has those accuracy issues. That's why he's loving Fulgham, because all you got to do is just chuck it up to him, and he's dominating. So it's tricky because wide receiver is like one of those positions where you might have somebody already. It's easy to find wide receivers compared to the other positions. But Fulgham, who knows if this continues when Alshon and Riger and Djax are back. That's what makes it risky to go blow all your load on Fulgham. But I don't think a guy that will just go from like 13 targets and 10 catches and being your offensive engine against the Steelers, no less, too. Let's keep this in mind. One of the better defenses, right? To then just disappearing. So I think Fulgham is going to have a very real, like, number 2 role at minimum here and be a viable flex the rest of the year. So you had $10, 15 if you really need a wide receiver. Don't hate it at all. Like what I'm seeing from Fulgham for sure. Ryan Fitzmagic, 21% owned, goes 350 and 3 scores. He'd be the quarterback I go to first, even over Dalton. He now has 25 points in, I think, 4 straight games outside of week 1. And then dating back to last year is, as I said last week, and it just keeps going because he keeps adding 25-point performances. QB 1 in 10 of his last 15 games, over 22 points in all of those. Fitzmagic is scary as it is to ever roll him out. Like, he's just gets it done. The dude is, whether it's he like kind of understands he's on his last little hurrah here as a starter, he's not giving it up, and the team clearly loves him. I don't think this is a situation where, like, unless he really shits himself, he just gets benched mid-game and ruins your week. They might make that decision ahead of time if he really crafts himself, but I can't see them sending him packing in the middle of a game. That's when he'd kill you. But man, he is just getting it done. Also, Ruggs, cutting a lot of leagues coming into this week, 118 and a TD. Clearly, the separation was there. The guy still, obviously, the speed we already knew. Now let's see if he can develop into that better, wide receiver 1 upside, the full skill set, contested balls, all that good stuff we know he has. And then last but not least, we mentioned Dalton right at the top, but if Fitzmagic's gone, Derek Carr, also an intriguing option season long, but if those guys are gone, You don't get much better than Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and of course, CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz, whatever, but Zeke Elliott too. I mean, this offense, with or without Dak, Dak obviously was the lifeblood of it. It's not going to be as dangerous and as good without Dak. I mean, how could you? They were insane. Led the NFL in pace, 19 seconds per play, 5 seconds faster than the next closest team. 422.5 passing yards per game. NFL record pace right there. We're not getting that. 1,907 yards, 236 attempts, both top. 32.6 points per game. Not going to happen with Dalton. But can Dalton put up 25, 28 in the right matchups? 111 yards, 9 of 11. Makes the game-winning throw to Gallup. I think with these weapons and this bad of a defense, and especially with Kellen Moore endorsing him and saying, we're going to be as aggressive as we ever have been, I think Dalton could be worth a decent look on your waivers. Alrighty, folks. Let's now hit your questions and get some Monday Night Football in here. Thomas out. Would you play Sanders? I hope I'm not too late for you on this one, Tunes. Yeah, it's already kicked off. I think I would have gone Sanders, though, with him out. Just less risky there. Losing Dak hurt. Show must go on for Mike Clay. It certainly does. What percent? Well, again, what other options are out there? Like, is Fitzmagic there? Is Derek Carr there? Because I don't see Dalton giving you a huge edge, if any edge, over those guys. So it's like, save up the money, get whatever guy is going to be the cheapest from that list. But 10%, 15% to get yourself your new quarterback probably has to happen. So, yeah, whatever that takes, whether that's Dalton or someone else, let us know who else is out there. Up by 40, he has Kamara. If I play it safe, I have to play Jay Kelly or Cook. Can roll the dice and hope for no more pauses. Plays A.J. Brown. So, yeah, again, sorry, fella. I was doing the recap. I should have hit these before. The Monday night's never meant to be like Monday night questions. I should, get on. I'll usually try to get on by 7 so I can see these. Just had a family thing tonight. I would have played Kelly probably. The sure volume is my opinion. Sup, Wolf. Another week, another win. 5-0, baby. Love to hear it, Craig Sarno. After the photo switch back at our calling, you might be the number one fan of the year so far. I hate cut B Cooks. Of course, you should have told us, David. I would have picked him right back up. But yeah, of course, it's the worst, right? My McKinnon for DJ Moore trades looking good. Sure is, CJ. That's the definition of a sell high and a buy low, all wrapped into one. Well done. Guess that's why we pay you the big bucks over here, buddy. Love it. 5-0 as well. That's that Wolf Pack, baby. If only I had the success you guys have. My own advice. Fuck. Love it, though. Love you guys are the fucking – at least I can live through you guys, right? I'm not getting killed anywhere, but I've got a couple leagues 2 and 3. Pretty ugly. Cut Cooks after the 3. Yeah, I mean, it was brutal. 3 targets, 0 catches on like 50 routes run. But I think we all should have waited it out for Bill O'Brien. I hate cut him too. So I'm with you guys. It hurts. Getting the W this week, going to 2 and 3. Running backs are scaring me with Eckler out. CH struggling. Taylor okay. McKinnon dumping his pants. Absolutely does a dump in the pants. Do I have hope at running back? I mean, I'm still thinking CEH is going to really pan out. I am a little bit skeptical that if you can't do it against the Raiders, like when's it going to happen? But between him and Taylor, we'll find you the next, you need one more. But you got 2 guys that I feel good about. Starting Tunyon over Ertz. Can you really hate cut a healthy perennial top 3 TN getting 90% of the snaps? I don't know. Is he really healthy? Because if he's healthy and this is what healthy Ertz is, then good Lord. I mean, you'd have to have a good option. Depends on your league. But yeah. Man. I totally agree. You're starting Tunyon. That's the one lock of this question, Mateo. Our waiver wires bare. Too many IR spots in league and people filled them up. I'll need a full consult one day. Yeah, let's hit me up, David. At Roto Street Wolf on Twitter is where I don't know if you ever DM us on Facebook. Those ones kind of fly under the radar. My phone doesn't always get the alerts. But if you ever hit me up at Roto Street Wolf on Twitter, let's set something up and we'll get you on a phone call or something. Make sure to help you out, buddy. Pick up Claypool or Madison for rock out. That's an interesting one. Of course, it comes down to team need, right? Like, do you need the wide receiver? Do you need the running back? Because that makes it easy, right? But I'd say rest of season is a little riskier, but Claypool just looks like he could be a season-winning stud. I wouldn't be shocked to see you get like wide receiver 2 value here on out. Whereas Madison, it's like if Cook was going to miss 8 weeks, okay, then it's him. But you're probably getting one start for sure out of this week. And you might not even get that start. It's not even a locked-in start yet. So you hold for Madison and you get one start max. And what if Cook just stays healthy the rest of the year? Whereas Claypool could be a just every week monster. So I lean Claypool most situations, but it again comes down to team need. And if we hear something different on Cook that he's going to miss 5-6 weeks, something like that, then we change. But right now I think you're getting 1 week out of Madison for sure. And then it's just like the best handcuff in the game. Whereas Claypool could just be a season-long difference maker. I don't think it's a fluke at all. Fitz, Herbert, Tannehill, Teddy Bridge, Andy Dalton, Stafford, rest of season for my man Tunes. I want to say Stafford, Herbert, Teddy Bridge is how I'd rank those. Fitz is, again, just gets it done, and he's so fun to root for. But he could be benched soon enough. Herbert's the upside play. Let's see what he does tonight. That'll give us a decent judgment, right? Similar to Tannehill on Tuesday. Something about the Titans is just kind of grossing me. I wonder what it is. Grossing me out these days. But Dalton, when those are your other options, that's when you can leave Dalton sitting. Dalton's more like 2 QBs or like a stacked league where every quarterback's owned and you just are desperate for somebody. I like Teddy, Herbert, and Stafford, probably the most of those 3. Someone dropped Fant in this league. I have Ertz. How much do you think I should bid? I mean, what's the latest on his health, right? Like, is he going to play this week? Because Fant looked real good. I mean, after the catch contested down the field, he's a freak athlete. Him and Judy are the show there. I love Fant. It's just a matter of how long is that injury going to linger. He was kind of up in the air for this week, so to me, it doesn't seem overly serious. So yeah, I'd say a nice 25-30. 30%, whatever it kind of takes to get it done, because Ertz should put you in a position you never have to pay for a tight end. Sadly, that has not been the case, Mike. So yeah, I think you got to bid like $25, 25, 30, get Fant. I mean, he is the real deal. I think him and Locke could crush it when he comes back. You think AJ Green's going to get traded for my man 909 Orbits? Where can you see him land? Who the fuck wants him? You must have missed my rant earlier. I think the dude's a fucking bum. I hope to God he doesn't come to the Patriots. Loser. An absolute loser mentality. This week I'm not in game shape. This week I didn't see enough targets. This week, everybody else's fault but my own. Now I have my hamstring flare up. Get out of here. I'm done with him. I mean, I've been done with him, though. Anybody that's tuned in here, I said to cut AJ Green in week 2 after that Thursday Night Football fiasco. Those of you that have let him burn a hole in your roster for another 3 weeks, it's time to get rid of him. Where can I see him going? Oh, maybe the Packers. And then it's okay, Aaron Rodgers can make fucking Tunyon have 3 touchdowns, and maybe he goes there. I'd care about him again. Anywhere else, Packers are bust is what I'm saying. 909. Fuck AJ Green. Loser. Absolute loser. Alrighty, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. I, of course, am the Wolf of Roto Street, at Roto Street Wolf on Twitter, of the RotoStreetJournal.com. We breed and feed fantasy wolves. If you listen to the podcast, thanks so much. The Fantasy Fullback Dive, we pave your path to 2020 titles. We'll be back live tomorrow, Tuesday, at around 5 p.m. Eastern Time with your live ranking show. Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time with your Fantasy Fullback Dive live broadcast. Thursday, your tailgate, your updated ranking show, your sit starts for Thursday Night Football, and then your weekends at 11 a.m. Saturday, Sunday for DFS and sit starts. That's when you can find me. You can, of course, interact with me at Roto Street Wolf, but I promise and guarantee answers if you come to any of our broadcasts. That's the way you can make sure to get me. Alrighty, guys. Best of luck. If you need anything tonight or tomorrow with this crazy-ass season, I hope you get everything you need. Let's get that Week 5 win wrapped up and on to Week 6, baby. Let's keep it going, Wolfpack. See you next time.